Okay, so we'll move for next session. That is the very important one. That is Azure networks. So, what is Azure? First of all, what is a network? So, network is a service whenever and wherever you want to access anything over the internet or inside the particular environment, office environment, infra environment, you required one IP address. Okay, that through the IP address you can able to reach out the particular resource or particular services inside organization or outside over the internet. Okay, the same way in Azure, the networking is a very big concept and that is playing very big key role in Azure. Okay, so network is a service. Azure network is a service, and that provide fundamental blocking of our private network. So before that, I'll just open a diagram. Same thing, whatever the physical environment have the setup, the same setup will be there in Azure. As we discussed last time, so there is a physical data center, and inside the data center, I said servers, storages, networks, these all will be there. Okay, in the data center. Same thing using some softwares. There are some softwares which can convert like Cisco networks, Cisco network softwares, so many softwares. Okay, using that they are just converting the physical network to virtual network. Okay, as IAS admin, we can create the network from portal itself, which will reflect in the backend. Sure, portal. As IAS admin, you can create n number of virtual machines, sorry, virtual network. But whenever you create each and every network, that will be residing on top of the physical network. Okay, so there are multiple names the virtual network called. In Azure, the virtual network called as VNet. Sorry, VNet. And uh, in AWS, it is called VPC, Virtual Private Network. But in Azure, it's called as VNet, Virtual Network. So based on our requirement, we can create our dedicated VNet as per our requirement using Azure Backbone Network. And this is isolated network. I mean isolated network, or we can call it as private network, because in the data center also the Azure kept as their own network which is already isolated. So on top of the isolated physical network, we are creating a VNet. So this VNet also private network, or you can tell us isolated network. Okay, so why this network is required? So this is the very important key role, because whatever resources that we are creating in Azure, to access the resources you need a connectivity or communication. So how you can communicate it? Obviously you need some IP address. So you say these are the, I mean, you see the resources are created in Azure. When you want to access this resource from outside, how you can reach out the particular resources? The resources are many things: virtual machine, storages, application gateway, load balancer. There are many components are there which is relies on network. Without IP, you cannot reach out to the resources. Okay. So to access these resources or to communicate these resources, we need IP address. So this IP address will be generated by my Microsoft Azure backbone, and we can able to customize this network. Customize means based on our requirement, we can create our own network. Okay, so uh, I hope these points are clear, right? What is network and why actually it's required. And I'm moving very slowly only. Please repeat it. Okay. If any doubts in networking, this is fine. So next thing is IP addresses. So whatever, even if you want to Google it or access Google, access Gmail, whatever, you need IP address. Your phone, once your phone is connected to mobile data, one dedicated IP address will be assigned. For example, this is Gmail. Just a moment, guys. Just a moment. Yeah. So for each and every site, when you access, the dedicated IP address will be assigned. Okay. Without IP address, you cannot access the particular site. Okay. So in this IP address, as per our India standard, as per world standard, there are two setup IP addresses are there. IPv6 is a version 6, IPv4 version 4. So these two standards, the overall, I know all the world, I mean all the countries are following. IPv6 means the IP address has 6 parameters like 0 dot 0 dot 0 dot 0 dot 0 dot 0. So they have six division. This is the first IP. 0 dot 0 dot 0 dot is the first IP. And IPv4, which is having 4 division, 0 dot 0 dot 0, which is more similar than IPv6. So that is why most of the companies still following IPv4, and this is the very standard method also. Okay, and IPv6, the requirement already came to the picture. Many of the foreign companies are using IP6. The reason between these two, uh, tightening the security. Okay, this is 4 division and this is 6 division. Two extra divisions are added, so it has more security than IPv4. But to remember the IP address, IPv4 is the standard one, so that everyone easily remembering their IP address and all. Okay, so now in this IP address there are some classifications. Okay, guys, this is actually out of topic only, but just to you all want to understand, so that's why I'm still explaining this one. So IP address classification. So as I said, IPv4 is a standard one, and the first address would be 0.0.0.0. In this IP address, there are some classifications based on the project use and based on the you know customer usages. They have classified. So what are the classification is, first one is A class, B class, C, D, E. So they have divided up to 5 classes. Okay. So which means the first IP will start from 0 to 127, which means 0.0.0.0 to 127.0.0.0. These all the series from 0 to 127 comes under class A. Same thing class B, C, D. So based on the requirement, I'll show the diagram now. Okay, sorry, here is 126. 127 is the reserved IP. I forgot 126. Okay. You see the IP start from 1 to 126. Sorry, this also is wrong. This is 1. Okay, 1 to 126 IPs, the beginning IPs. First one. Sorry. Okay, so this is class A IPs, and this is for large network which has more number of you can create some very big network and all in the class A. And class B, this is for medium sized network. And sometimes you might be seeing when you access your open network, you might be getting the IP address 128 or 192, something like that. Okay, so this is also class B series, and class series is also used for local area network. Uh, this is also most frequent IPs for our open internet. And other class D and class E for same some reserving and some development research oriented purpose. So the maximum requirement and maximum company would be designing from class A to class C only. Okay. So for example, I'll just show in my system what is the IP that my system is connected to. Go to command prompt and just type ipconfig, and you can see my IPv4 IP address is 192.160 series, which is class C IP. Class C IP address is assigned for local area network. Okay, so just try to understand so that we can move to Azure actual network. Oh, fine. Let me. So I hope this point is clear. IP address classification. So next thing we are going to create virtual network. So go to global search, just type VNet, you will get virtual network, and here go to create options. So as I said, subscription and resource group is the default one. Use at any cost. These two are needs to be defined. So I'm just choosing my own resource group, and here you have to give the VNet name. Something I'm giving VNet hyphen training, and the region, which region you are going to create this network. Based on the requirement, you can create the network, and click on next option is security option. In the security options, the first one is Azure Bastion host. Last time we discussed about Azure Bastion host. If you want to access the virtual machine in this particular network without public IP, without assigning public IP, then you would be required a Bastion host. So you need a Bastion host means you can choose it, or else you can ignore it. As of now, I'm ignoring. And then firewall. So firewall is a security for this entire network that we discuss it later. And then DOS protections. So you need for extra security for this network DOS protection security. you can enable this one, but as you can ignore it. Okay, move to next. The next session is IP addresses. So you are going to define, you are going to design your company network. So like this, you are going to design this network, and the network has some IP addresses. As I said, every network has some IP addresses from the classes A, B, C classes. So you need to define how many networks, how many IP addresses are required our project. Uh, the least count is uh, something 8 IPs, I guess. We'll see in the session. The maximum IPs earlier it was 65,500 IPs or maximum limit in the single virtual network. But Azure has brought advanced feature and which is having lakhs of networks. We can create lakhs networks in single VNet. Okay, just try to understand, it's enough. Okay, we are going to define, for example, my requirement is around 5,000 IPs is enough. Okay, in this 5,000 IPs, how you can define whether you need IPs in 0 series or 1 series or 10 series or 11 series, something like that. Most probably the most of the project use 10 series is only. Okay, so 10.0.0.0 slash, this slash is range, CIDR range, that we'll see next one. So slash uh, 24, there are some ranges. When the range is getting increased, 26, 29, the maximum is 30. Slash 30 is the maximum range. When the range is, when the CIDR range is getting increased, the IPs, number of IPs will be assigned less only. If the CIDR range is getting decreased, like slash 16 or slash 14, 15, slash 8, the number of IPs will assign more, depends on this CIDR range. Okay, so please understand this VNet and CIDR range, IP address, this entire thing called as CIDR range, IP address CIDR range. Okay, slash 8, this is actually individual IP. If you mention something slash some digits of number, then the whole address is called as CADR range. Okay. Now I'll just go and yeah, I'm going to create one VNet. One VNet with I said my requirement is 5,000 IPs. Okay, so exactly I cannot define 5,000, but I can create very close to 5,000. So here you see the starting with, by default Microsoft give the suggestion is 10 dot. Okay, so I'm just already I have some network which I created for practicing purpose. So I will just give us 10.1.0.0. Okay, in this series, you can see here uh, 10.1.0.0 slash, I have to define the range. Okay, based on my requirement, I have to define the range. In the drop down, you can see I said right, the maximum is 30, 29 is the last, 30 is there, but which is not visible. That is the least one, we cannot define it. So that's why I said till 30. But from the portal itself, we can see till 29 is the slash CADR range. Okay, when you give slash 29, the 8 address will be assigned. Uh, if you give a slash 8, you see, for just assume that you give here slash 8. So the first address will be 10 dot first IP address will be 10.1.0.1 and till 10 to 10.0 so 1.0.7. Sorry, first IP is this one 0, I guess. Yeah, sorry, first IP would be 0. Sorry. Ah. So totally 8 IPs will be allocated. That is why you gave the /8 IP range. So try to understand this CADR range. This is a very important one. Okay, you see totally 8 IPs will be assigned to our network if you give lowest CADR range. Okay, 8 means very lowest number and maximum is 29. Oh, sorry, guys. Sorry, I said wrong. Sorry. So first, I'm giving a highest number. So highest is having lowest IP allocation. So sorry, it's also I said 29. Sorry, guys. Okay, /29, which is having highest CADR range. If you give this one, lowest IPs will be assigned. Low IPs, I mean low count IP assigned. So I said last time, I said just before, the 30 is the last one, but 30 will not be visible to us. So 29 is the maximum limit from Microsoft and the least you can see in the portal till 8, sorry, till 2. So which means /2. So the entire CADR range from Microsoft /2 to /29. 10.0.0.0/29. So this is the entire CADR range setup in the Microsoft network. /2, which is having lakhs of IPs. That is what in the beginning I said, lakhs of IPs. So based on our requirement, we need to choose this range in between this CADR. Okay. So my requirement is 5,000 IPs. So I'll just go here and choose which is very close to my requirement. So I said CADR range is more means IP addresses will be less. See here, see in the list which is suitable to us. So I can see /20 is very close to mine. If you give /20, 4096 IPs will be assigned to my VNet. So I will choose my required IP address is 10.0.0.0/20. Okay, so 20 means you just try to remember this number CADR number and then IP address count. 20 means 4096 IPs, 4096 IPs, and sometimes most frequently we use 10.0.0./24. /24 gives 266, so 256 IPs. That is what you can see in the portal also. Go here, choose /24 256 IP address. So what I said, when the CADR ranges get increased, the IP addresses allocations, the count of IP addresses will decrease. Okay. So hope you understood about this CADR range. So any doubt in CADR range? Okay, fine. So in my, for practice purpose, I have already defined this series already. So here I am going to give this range only 10.0 dot, sorry, this range I am going to define. Okay, and another thing that I want to show, this 409696 IPs, how it is actually being assigned. The first one First IP is 10.0.0.1. Okay, so the next IP is 10.0.0.2. This will continue up to 10.0.0.255. This is the in the first range, first CADR range. This division, the maximum IP from 1 to 255 only. Okay, so that is what we seen in the slash 24. You see the slash 24, when you give slash 24, it will give 256 IP division. So that is the required, that is the designed size. Okay, whatever you give IP count, it will go 1 to 255, and 256 will not be there. Here 0 will be there, that 0 will be reserved. Okay, so by default it will start from 0 to 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, like that. So maximum is 256, 255. So if you count it from 0 to 255, the total count would be 256. That is the maximum uh, network range that is defined by physical network. Okay, 255.255.255.255. Just assume this CADR range. Okay. Like this only, the IPs will get created based on our CDR range. Now you see the first one is 0 to 255 is over, which means it will assign 256 IPs. Okay, but my requirement is I have given 4096, but the first series it assigned 256. Again, the next IP address will start 10.0.1.0. You can see the variation here, the 10.0.0.0. This first series get full, that is completely occupied. Sorry, this is completely occupied. Now after this 255, the range will increase, one will be added to this previous division. Here it will change to 1. Same thing, here it will change to 1 to till 10.0.1, sorry, 0.255.255. Okay, so 255 into 255, so that much IPs will be assigned when these two divisions are occupied. So just call C. So 255 into 255, so 65,000 IPs, 65,000 250, sorry, 65,025 IPs will be assigned only in between these two IP ranges. Okay, so how it would be same here. One moment. So first IP 10.0.1.0, again 10.0.1.1, 10.0.1.2. Okay, so like this, the first the IPs will go still 10.0.1.255. Okay, again next IP would be, I mean wait, 2. After this 255, again it will go to 10.0.2.0. The one is get full, the one series is occupied at 255. So the next again it will goes to 10.0. The one will be replaced to next IP, that is 2, so 2.0, again 10.0.2.1 till 10.0.2.0. 2 dot up to 255. 250, sorry, 2 255. So like this, the IP will goes 10 dot 0 dot 255 dot 255. That is what I mentioned here. You see 10 dot 0 dot 255 dot 255. If you give slash 16 IP ranges here, where is that IP? Yeah. So which is very close to this one slash 16. If you give this much of range, the IP address will come, the count will come 65,000. Yeah, 65,000 range. Likewise, the IP addresses are keep getting assigned to our VNet. Okay, so I hope you are clear this point because very important one network. So if I am confusing, please repeat it. Please tell. I will once again repeat the concept. Okay, so I am giving my requirement is 10.0, sorry, 10.1.0.0 slash 20 because the 0 IP is already defined. I have defined in my network. If you go other networks, okay, this is also defined. You see 10.0.0.16 already I have defined. Okay, so that's why I'm not able to define. I guess I have created one more VNet also. We'll see which is okay. This is 10.1 dot okay. 10.1.0 also I have defined already. So for us, I'm going to give 10.2.0 slash 16 IP ranges. If I give 16 CAD range, then it will assign 65,536 total IPs. Okay, so in the calculation I did a mistake. I just multiplied 255, but that is wrong. It is 255 6, sorry, 256 into 256. That is our actual count. You see 65,536 count, which is going to assign our network. If you want, you can modify it. After create a VNet also, if you need additional requirement, you can extend this VNet. Okay, so that is second thing, no worries. Okay, so whenever you create VNet, by default one subnet will be created. So what is subnet? Last time we discussed what is subnet. There is a, see, just as an example I said, sir, 65,536, that is actually going to be assigned for our network. Actual, this 5,000 IPs just for understanding purpose I told, okay, just forgot about this 5,000. I'm going to assign with 65,000, I mean slash 60 ranges. The IP range is 10.2.0.0. Slash 16. Sorry, 10.0 dot sorry 2.0.0 slash 16 65,536 IPs. This is my actual range. So I have a different requirement in my project, something like development, testing, productions, non-productions. So I cannot put all the VMs into the single network because production has some special rules, special requirement. Non-production has some special requirement. So based on the requirement, I'm dividing into small network, that is subnet, that is called subnet A. So I'm just simply defining name as subnet for A for non-prod, subnet B for prod. So based on my requirement, I can divide my whole network into small division, small network, that is called subnet. So now what I'll do, after divide the subnets, I can place my virtual machines in the subnet. This is non-prod, this is prod, like that I can place the virtual machine. So with network, VNet and then subnet is important component in virtual network. Okay, so hope you clear about network, sorry, subnet. So whenever you create network, by default the subnet will be assigned, default subnet will be assigned. So for example, this is the default subnet, that is called, the naming itself called default. Okay, so the default subnet will be assigned. Without a default subnet, the VNet will not be functionable. So default network is important one. You can just rename it, that is not an issue, but one default network will be created at the beginning. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to divide this 65,000 IPs into smaller part. For example, I need a non-production subnet. I need 256 IPs or 512 IPs, 512 IPs, and subnet B, that is something like I need 1024 IPs, and subnet C, that is something 256 IPs. Like this, you can divide the whole network from the virtual network. So I just go here, first one, the click add and the subnet. You see the first subnet is add, it's going to add the IP address. This is the whole IP address of our virtual network. From here I'm going to divide the subnet. So there are some predefined subnet templates. What is the purpose, I mean, this subnet is having some purpose. What's purpose we can create the subnet? Some categories are there. So I'm just going to create as a default one. So that is the default purpose, and the name you can give it as subnet A, and starting address. In this, what is the starting address? This is, as I said, the first starting address would be 10.20.0, and my requirement, I said, the first requirement is 512 IPs. Okay, so you can see the subnet size is that the CADR range came with the sizes, the IP counts. So my requirement is 512 IPs. So you see 512 IPs comes under /23 range. Okay, so just click on the 512, and you see the IP addresses range start from 10.2.0.0 to 10.2.1.255. So just remember this starting IP and ending IP. This is what I explained in the diagram also, and where it is here IP IP ranges also uh, here. You see the first one 10.0.0 to 10. So like this, the IPs are getting assigned. So my requirement is 512 MP, sorry, 512 addresses, 512 IP addresses. So I'm just creating, adding the one subnet. So later, after create the VNet, you can add a subnet later part. So no worries. Just click on next, next, and then finish it. So any doubt in VNet and subnet creations, guys? Thank you. And let's see. Okay, it's, it's still deploying. Let it complete. So we'll move for the next one. So I hope everyone clear network and subnet creations. Okay. And the next one, I will show one diagrammatic picture and we'll Azure Firewall will discuss later today. And next topic that we are going to discuss Azure Network Security Group. Okay. So I hope clear. Let me open other topics. These IPs classes and all, nobody will explain these classes and all. So just you to understand, I slowly explaining this. Okay, so this is my uh, whole VNet. IP address is 10.2.0.0/16. Here, uh, just assume that this is subnet, subnet A, subnet, subnet B, so like that. Okay, so this is the incoming request. I mean the request comes to our VNet. So the VNet connections will goes to the connections will goes to respective subnet. Incoming means our, if you are hitting the IP address from over the internet or external, whatever, external also. So internet or intranet. Intranet means within the organization. Intranet means over the public internet. So the connections are, the requests are coming from here to our VNet. For example, you are just hitting the IP address 10.2.0.5. Assume that the request will comes to our VNet. It will just hit to our VNet, and VNet will route the respective network to respective subnet. So for example, this is the subnet A, so that the IP will goes to subnet A, and from this subnet, for example, we are hitting this is the virtual machine IP, and inside this subnet A, we have placed our virtual machine like this, VM. VM. So inside the subnet, the request will goes to VM. Okay. The same way, whatever IP that you hit, it will route to respective subnet. From the respective subnet, it will move to respective virtual machine. Now, uh, for the network level security, Azure brought the concept called Azure firewalls. Okay, so which is required to control the traffic, as well as which needs to allow, which need not to allow inside our network. So that is handling by firewall, that is located on top of the virtual network. So try to understand firewall is our VNet level security. Okay, firewall VNet level security. But virtual machine level security. So who actually will do? Firewall is fine. Um, in this network, there are so many subnet, and each kind of subnet has some specific rules that is allowed in the firewall. Okay, one rule may be allowed to subnet A, one rule might be allowed to subnet B, one rule allowed to subnet C, like that. But the VM level security, so this is firewall is will be allowing many rules or allowing many traffic, but the VM level security who actually do the VM level security, that will be done by network security group, NSG, that is called NSG. Okay, network security group. So the connection first it will come from subnet to NSG. In this NSG, there are some rules that is defined here for incoming and outgoing. Based on the permissions, the connectivity will be allowed to respective virtual machine. Okay, so this is how it is designed. Okay, so try to understand use of network security group. It's a VM level security group which needs to be allowed, which not to be allowed in the VM level. But firewall is entire virtual network level, entire virtual network level security, that is firewall. Okay, so for example now one visual machine is there. So likewise, you can suppose you have a multiple virtual machines. So this is VM2. So multiple virtual machines if you have, this energy is a dedicated component that you can, whenever you create a virtual machine, it will ask you to create one network security group. Okay, by default you can ignore this NSG also. If you don't define this NSG while creating the virtual machine, then the machine what you create, it will be ideal until you will allow some rules in NSG. Okay, whatever for internet purpose, for website or HTTP or HTTPS request or something, until unless you define in NSG, this machine will be ideal. Okay, so now you see the requirement here. Each virtual machine having a dedicated NSG. Oh, so suppose if I have a 10 virtual machine, then 10 virtual machine under subnet A, all the 10 virtual machines, the traffic will goes from subnet A only, and all the VMs are running with similar same kind of application. Okay, so in that case, just think that if you define the NSG for each and every virtual machine for the same activity, for example, this VM1 also you are VM1 also you are using web services for HTTP and HTTPS, and VM2 also same purpose, HTTP, HTTP, and VM10 also. So all are same requirement. So do you think the energy security group is required for all the virtual machines? Actually, no. You can have only one NSG group. You can create only one NSG on top of this subnet. On top of the subnet, one NSG is enough, and that NSG you can bind to VM. VM1 also, VM2 also, 3. If you attach this NSG in subnet A, the same function, the same rule will be applied to VM1, 2, 3 up to 10 virtual machine. So that is the beauty of a network security group. So I will show one more diagram here. So this is VM1, VM2, VM3, all are under subnet. Each VM having one NSG like this. NSG, same functions only. All the NSGs having same functions. Okay. So each and every resources are cost associated. When you have a three NSG group, all three having same rules and same for single subnet, then why you need for three different NSG for three different virtual machines? Sorry, three same virtual machines. You are not required. You will be not required for individual NSB. For example, this is for cost 10 rupees, means you have to spend 30 rupees for three virtual machine. At the same way, you assign, you associate this same single energy into subnet level. One energy is enough, and this is just 10 rupees. You can save 20 rupees of cost. So that is the main picture of energy that brought to subnet level. So the energy future, the energy usage is, this is a one interview question also. The energy can be associated to individual virtual machines as well as individual subnet. If you attach the energy into single subnet, you the same energy can be applied to n number of virtual machines. If you have 100 VMs in single subnet, all the 100 VMs will be utilizing the same energy rules. That is the main concept of network security group. Okay, so now network security group NSG, these have two types. Network security have two types. One is inbound, another one is outbound. Because if you see then the diagram, the traffic will come from outside to subnet, subnet to VM. At the same time, the traffic again will go back to, I mean, the response should go back to subnet, firewall, and then internet. Okay, so one is inbound, another one is outbound. These two are very important key role in network security group. So this is called inbound, inbound rules, outbound rules. By default, three rules are there in both inbound and then both outbound. You have to remember this also. In the interview they will ask definitely what are the default rules will be there in network security group. So first one is VNet in the inbound, VNet inbound, VNet inbound, VNet inbound load balancer, VNet inbound deny, inbound deny rule. So allow rule, deny rule, both will be there. So what needs to be allowed, what need not to be allowed, that we have to define. These three rule you cannot delete it, and is the default rule which is there. You cannot delete it also. Outbound to outbound also in the creation level. Okay, outbound outbound load balancer, outbound delay, outbound deny rule. Okay, these three rules will be there, and how these rules are functioning, how it is working. So each and every rule having some numbers, that is called priority numbers. Based on the priority, the rule will be functioning. The priority number will start from 100 to 65,500, I guess. It will start from 100 to 65,000. Based on that, you can define the rules. These default rules you cannot delete it. You need to overcome is you have to define the rule based on the priority, and these three rules assigned with 65,000 series is only. The rule is 65,000 something and so. Okay, but whatever you define the rule, you can use from 100 to 65,000. And the rule what you define as the lowest number, for example, in the 100 level, you are creating one rule for RDP. So the 100 RDP, this is the first priority, which is the lowest number. This will execute first. Okay, the same way in the outbound also, which is lowest that will be execute, and which is the last one, least one, that will be executed at the last execution. So this also you remember. Okay, these also interview questions only. Okay, so you clear about this network security group, right? And so how the network security group structure will be. Okay, so just go back to my portal. You see the virtual network is deployed. My virtual network is already successfully deployed. I'm going to create one network security group. Just search NSG in the global search. You will get network security group. So go here. Already one is there. Leave about default one. So just create network security group. It will ask subscription, resource group, and name you have to define NSG hyphen for what purpose you need, that you can define it. So NSG for PM level something. Okay, and region you have to select. That's it. You have to click create. It's waiting. It is created now. It's waiting. So any doubt in network security group? Important one. You in the project you are frequently using this network security group, and very important topic also. Okay, so you see the deployment network security group deployment is completed. Just go to the resource group, and here in the overview you can see some basic details and custom security rules. You see here custom security rules, which means there is no defined rule. We did not created any rule. Okay, by default rule only it is there, and associated with zero subnet, zero network interfaces. So this network security group did not associated to any of the subnet and any of the NIC card. NIC card means this NIC card is component of our virtual machine. Okay, which means it does not connected with any of the virtual machine. Okay, and here in the settings you see inbound security rule and then outbound security rule. Let me go to inbound. So see here in the inbound security rule, I said right, the last priority is 65,500, which is deny all inbound, and the request and the status also it is denied. And 65,500 allow VNet inbound, that is tick mark, which means it will allow all the inbound traffic. 65,001 rule is allow for load balancing load balancer rule, which will allow all the traffic whichever comes from load balancer and whichever comes from the VNet. Uh, Here, yeah, in this diagram, whichever traffic comes from the VNet, subnet, the NSG will allow. That is what here it is. Allow VNet from the load balancer. That is a different one. I will tell later. Allow deny outbound. So the deny one they have defined very least because the before the deny we can define all the rules that that can be allowed. So deny will block, but that is the very least one which will not be functional. Okay. And security outbound rule. So outbound rule also similar name. See, allow outbound VNet outbound, outbound to internet, outbound to, sorry, deny outbound. So very sorry, it is. So this is what we discussed. So inbound request. This is outbound request. Okay. So any doubt in network security group? So I hope you all clear about network security group. Okay. Exactly. You cannot, yeah, you cannot modify, you cannot delete. On top of this, you can add any number of rules, but this default cannot be deleted. Okay. Okay. Now I'll just quickly go ahead and create one virtual machine, and in the virtual machine, I will attach this respective network security group. Okay. I will attach to VM in the sense subnet, and the subnet I will place one VM. Okay, so where it can be attached. First one, I have one virtual machine. Where it is that? That is different. Okay, so I have already deployed one virtual machine. Go here where you can find the network security group that is attached to this VM. So go to VM and go to networking. The networking, you can see the network interface and then your public IP, private IP informations. And the down you can see network security group. The VM1 NSG group is attached to network interface VM134. I mean, network interface means this particular NSG associated to my network interface, my virtual machine, not in subnet level. I will show that also. Now, where you can see which subnet the VM is located. You can see under the network interface, virtual machine network slash subnet. So the first slash is our virtual network, second slash our subnet. So VNet to point to set. This is my virtual network name. Inside that default subnet. Okay, so I'll go back to my VNet. So just search VNet. This is the first one. This is the VNet where actually VM is located in this virtual network. Go to subnet. You can see there are two subnets which I created already. So in this default subnet, just go back. Sorry, just go to this VNet, and here you see NAT gateway none, network security group is none, route table is none. Three are none, 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 which means the network security group does not associated to this particular subnet, but it is only associated to the VM level. So that is what in the diagram I explained. Uh, this is the VM, and This is the NIC card. NIC card. This is our subnet. The NSG rule is associated directly to our NIC card, but not in subnet level. Subnet level. For single VM, this is fine. As I said, multiple VM when we do create in same subnet, so this is not the best practice to create individual NSG to all the VMs. So the best practice is we have to disconnect this NSG from the VM from the NIC card, and then we have to associate to subnet level. So that is what we are going to do now. So just go to our subnet. Here I am going to attach that particular network security group to this subnet. So go here, the one which I created, uh, okay, which we created just now, we will attach that one also. Okay, you see, network security group VM level 1, I am just associating with subnet. Okay, so just click here. Let it say my remote desktop will be disconnected uh, because the network security group what we created, we did not associated any rules. You see, just go to VM level, go here in the inbound rule. I did not define any rule. See how I can take my virtual machine RDP. This is my RDP. This is my VM. I have to define RDP 33 port. Then only I can take this machine RDP from outside. If I don't define, the virtual machine cannot be accessed. In the default role which we created, here there is no rule defined for RDP purpose. But you see the VM1 NSG which is already attached to this VM level. If you see, the inbound rule is attached. Sorry, inbound rule is created. RDP 3389 is created so that the VM can be reachable. Now, in this default, in the energy, it is not there. I am going to create it now. Before that, so try to remember, we have attached the network security group into subnet level. Here we attached, and energy we attached. Here already one network security group is there. We are going to remove this energy. Okay, try to understand. We are removing here. We are attaching to subnet level. So go back to the VM settings. Go back to home, virtual machines, VM1. Go to networking. So in here you can see the network security group is attached to. Okay, sorry, one moment. Hmm. This is the network security group. Yeah. Okay. So subnet level we attached. So you can see here the network security group NSG1, sorry, NSG VM level, that is attached to default subnet. That is what we did. But in this VM level, I did not change it, right? So just go to network interface NIC card, go to NIC card. Here you can see the network security group option, and you see the network security group is associated with VM1 energy. I am going to make it as none because I have already attached the NIC card to respective subnet. Where this VM is present, that subnet I have associated. Okay, fine. So now network security group I have changed in this subnet level. Now I am going to take this machine RDP. I'll just power it on quickly. So guys, any doubt you can ask me. Okay, these all are important one. when you attend the interview, the most of the topics, interview topics will come from networking level only, and you have to keep it in handy all the practical things. So whatever I'm explaining, these all things are doing routinely in the project. This is not a theoretical one. Okay, so virtual machine is started successfully. What I'm going to take RDP using public IP address. So just go to RDP and here put the IP and just click on connect. You cannot connect the virtual machine. Can anyone tell why we cannot connect to this VM? Can anyone answer? Sorry. Uh, See, I have associated NSG into subnet level and disconnected from VM level. So I'm going to take this VM1 RDP, and in the NSG default level NSG, I have not declared the respective port number for RDP. RDP port number is 3389, which I have not defined in NSG level. See, if you see the NSG, all the default rule is there, but there is no rule for RDP. I said right, until we define rules in NSG, we cannot RDP. We have to define rule is 3389 in NSG level. Okay, earlier when I able to take RDP, that NSG associated in network NICOD level, I mean VM level, that NSG already I have defined port 3389, so I were able to access the VM. But now the NSG, I have changed the NSG from default to subnet level. So what I have to do, I have to create rule in my network security group, new rule in network security group, so that the VM can be accessible. So just go to your NIC card, sorry, go to your network security group and go to your inbound security rules, because this is the inbound request from the public IP to this is the inbound request. So no outbound is required. Inbound request we need to, so that we can take RDP. So go back to our rule, and here default rule is there. Just click on new rule, click add source. The source can be anything, or can be some particular IP address, or my IP address, or some service tag. So there are some categories. So as of now, the source I'm giving as any, because the request is coming from over the public IP, public internet. So I'm giving as any. And so source port range, I'm just giving as star. So star means it will consider all the ports from all the ports in the internet. And destination, what is the destination? The destination is our virtual machine. So any virtual machine I can reach out. So that's what I can define any virtual machine that I'm giving as any. And services, what is the services, what is the purpose of this rule that you are defining? I'm defining this rule for RDP purpose. So service, you have to define RDP. So the TCP protocol will be automatically selected for 3389 port, and the action is allow or deny. So if you don't want RDP but still you want to define the RDP, you can just define the rule, create the rule and make it as deny. If you want, you can make it as allow. This can be editable. Post create this rule also, that I also. So I'm going to allow the rule, and the priority I'm going to set the first, as I said, right, the minimum this number is start from 100. If you give one also, it will not consider. So number I'm just giving is 100, and the name I'm going to give allow any RDP inbound. So here I'm just giving the name as RDP rule, something giving, and description whatever you want, you can give it. In the project level, whenever you create any rule, inbound rule, so the description you have to mention the request ID who has requested for inbound rule to create. So that request ID and some summary of the request that you can define it and add the rule. Okay, so I'm just adding the inbound rule. I hope now I'm able to take RDP. So let's wait. And this RDP 33810 is public faced port, so there is a chance for attacking. So that's why you see here you are getting a warning also, but we are practicing, so no worries, but try to understand the alert symbol. Okay, I have defined 3389. Now I'm hitting the IP address. You see, I'm able to take RDP of the machine. So the request, the RDP request, how we can take RDP? IP address, the range is IP address colon port number 3389. See here in the RDP, how you are giving connection, IP address is something 172, public IP is 172 dot 190 dot 179 dot something 39 colon 3389. This range only actually the RDP will function, but when port 3389 is opened, you need not mention in RDP. You can directly, you no need to give this 3389 and all. It will route to the same only, so you can directly define just only IP address. Hit, give the password. You come at 12345. See, I'm able to take RDP. So you can see the logic now. And you see RDP is working. RDP is working. I'm successfully logged into the VM. So in case if you don't want this rule or you want to deny this rule, so just click on the rule. Same option will come in the priority, in the action level. You can click on deny and save it. The traffic will be disabled. I'll just give it as deny. You see my desktop will be disconnected. Just wait and see, it will be disconnected. Let's wait to reflect. I guess it will take some time. I'll just close it. Maybe the session is cached in my system, so that's why it's not disconnected. So I'll just try once again. You see the RDP connections will not work out because I have denied the rule. This is how you need to define the rule inbound and outbound. So outbound rule mostly you define whenever project requirement comes, there might be site is running inside this VM, and from inside the VM they want to access to some database. For example, this is the VM and there is a database, SQL database, Azure SQL database, Azure SQL. So they want to explore their connections from VM to this SQL database. So in this case, you have to open outbound port. You have to open outbound port, outbound connectivity to respective VM. So the connection will go from VM to database. Just try to understand outbound rule how it is function. Okay. So yeah, that is done. Again, I'm going to make this rule as allow because we need to do some practice. So I'll just make it allow. Fine. So network security group, any doubt till now? Okay. So if all perfect, then I can move for another topic. That is NIC card, private IP and public IP. I guess last time we have discussed about private IP and public IP associated in NIC card. Still, once again, I will repeat it. So this is NSG. the session whatever I'm covering everything, uh, experience based. There is no theoretical and all. You have to keep practice whatever we are discussing in the class. This is what we are actually going to work in projects. Network security group add and deletion rule, denying rules and all. Okay, so this next one I guess I have already discussed, but still I will repeat it. So this is the VM. In this VM, the NIC card will be connected like this. This is the NIC card, and this is the subnet A. So the IP of the primary IP. Whenever you deploy a VM, you must select subnet, VNet, and subnet. So the first IP, primary IP will be allocated. Primary IP will be allocated from subnet A, and this IP associated to respective NIC card, so that the internal traffic will goes to the VM and go back to VNet level. And to take this VM RDP or outbound connectivity access, we are using public IP here. So from here, the traffic goes to respective NIC card. I mean, the public IP would be associated to respective NIC card, so that we are taking RDP from here. Using public IP, we are taking RDP of VM. Okay, so this is how the combination work out. Public IP as well as primary IP actually associated in NIC card level, not directly in the VM level. So NIC card is the main interface that is connected to respective VM. So now the requirement come, this primary IP cannot be can be changed, but the NIC cannot be the IP interface cannot be deleted. That I will show later. So this is the primary IP, and this primary IP I may be using for some HTTP request. So for some HTTP request, at the same time, I have created one database, Azure SQL DB database, and I need to access this database with different IP. Okay, or the database has to access the VM with different IP, that is secondary IP, which means additional IP. You can call it as additional IP, secondary IP. So the same secondary IP also can be associated to respective NIC card only. So in the NIC card, you can create up to 256 additional IPs. I mean 255, 0 to 255 IPs can be associated. I know there is some background noise. Please, sorry for that. Sorry guys, sorry for my background noise. Okay, so 255, I mean 256 IPs can be created as a additional IP. Okay, so these all IP can be associated in single NIC card only. At the same time, we can attach multiple network interface, multiple NIC card also to this VM. You can create NIC card 2 also, this particular VM. So single VM can be added to multiple NIC cards and multiple IPs. So That is what we are going to see now. This we have discussed now. Adding additional private IP in NIC card. Okay. So as of now, you can ignore this NIC card too. So NIC card, NIC cards, many n number of NIC cards also can be attached to the VM. Sorry, multiple NIC cards also can be attached, and single NIC card can have multiple secondary IPs. I mean additional IPs. That is what we are going to see now. So go back to our virtual machine. Go to our VM. Go to networking. So go to our network interface, because I said right the IPs are associated with NIC card only. NIC card means network interface. So there only we can do whatever the changes, whatever the additional IPs. Okay, so go NIC card and go to IP configuration. You can see the actual settings over here. So which subnet the NIC card is associated. I mean under the which subnet the VM is located, and you see IP config 1, that is primary IP, and that is the dynamic IP. I will come to the point for dynamic next. And you see the public IP is associated to the NIC card. VM1344 is the NIC card name, and here one private IP and one public IP is associated. You can see the diagram here, primary IP and public IP. That is what we discussed. So go to this IP address configuration, click on IP config. You see the IP config name, IP version, type of the IP. It is a primary one, and the IP address allocation is dynamic. This we'll discuss later. Okay, and you see public IP address association. This is the public IP 172.190.179.205 associated to this particular NIC card. Okay, so if you don't want this IP address, public IP address, you can just uncheck and save it. The public IP address will be disconnected from the VM. It will be disconnected. If you disconnect the public IP address, then you cannot take RDP. That is the logic. Because we are not in Azure network, we are external users. So external users to access Azure network, we need a public address that we discuss in next topic. Okay. So as of now, I'm just canceling. So I'm going to add one additional IP. You can see the option is add here. Click add. Name you can give it as secondary, and by default the option select as secondary. You cannot make a change also. You cannot make it as primary also. Only option is secondary. And IP address allocation. So again, this is the subnet. This is the subnet, and when you create additional IP, one IP will be assigned from Azure DHCP. This Azure DHCP will create one IP based on availability in subnet. Okay, for example, 10.2.0.6 IP is available. Whatever at the presence of time available, that IP will be assigned by DHCP to respective network interface card, NIC card, whatever available. So go here. So that is what here allocation is dynamic. Dynamic means this Azure DHCP based on the availability in subnet, it will assign the IP automatically. So static in the sense we can define the respective IPs. For example, I need the IP is 10.2.0.8. So can we do manually? Can we define this IP without DHCP? Yes, that IP also can be assigned to NIC. If you choose a static, then we have to give what is the IP that we are going to add as secondary. So as of now, I'm not going to give. Let it create. Let new IP will create dynamically. That is fine. And associate public IP address. Do we need additional public IP? No, not required because we have already one public IP. Through that, we are taking RDP. So I'm just adding it. It will update in the NIC card. Yakai, yakai. கொஞ்சம் நீர் கொண்டா கை. Sorry. Okay. You see the secondary IP is assigned. The primary IP is 004. Secondary IP is 005. If you need additional IP, again go add option. You can give something IP config 3, and you can give it as dynamic and just click and add. The IP address will be added here. You see the three additional IPs were assigned to this VM. Okay, so adding additional IP to our NIC card, additional private IPs to our NIC card. This is what the topic was. Okay, so any doubt in adding multiple IPs in NIC card? See, whatever you add this in the NIC card, that is applied to our virtual machine only, because this NIC card is associated to our VM only. Okay, so any doubt before I move to another topic? I guess everyone are clear. So the next is, I see here it is a dynamic. I don't want dynamic IPs because the reason is dynamic IP and static IP. Uh, when you do reboot the machine from portal, or do unfortunately reboot, or if the VM went to failed state, or you are restoring, the dynamic IP will be changed. As I said, Azure Azure DHCP is assigning the IPs dynamically based on the availability in subnet level. So when you do reboot, if this is a VM, and when you do reboot, the IPs whatever associated to this VM, it will, the NIC card also will be refreshed, and the IP may go, and the IP will release from NIC by DHCP, and new IP will be allocated to IP address. So new IP to the NIC card. So here you see 10.0.0.6 is the IP which is dynamically assigned. 10.0.0.6. So when you do multiple reboot of this VM, there will be a chance the IP will go off and new IP will be added 10.0.8. This is how the IP work in dynamic mode. So instead of changing these IPs frequently by DHCP, I am assigning one IP, that is static IP. I am going to give us 10.0.8 or 9. We can give anything. Okay. So suppose this is the IP that I am giving us static IP. Who is assigning? I am assigning, not by DHCP. So I am assigning this IP to NIC card. and this would be a static one and will never change. Until unless you change, this will not be changed. Okay, so go back to our NIC card. For example, the IP3 I'm going to change. Just click on that IP3 here, click on the settings. Allocation type is dynamic and click on static. Here, what is the actual IP is going to? It's a 10.0.0.9. So just saving these changes and post the changes, the IP set as static. It's taking a time. And one more information, in the project, most of the time you have to assign the IP key in static only, because the IPs, the secondary IPs, additional IPs, whatever you create, it will not reflect in OS level. Okay, we have to configure these IPs in OS level also. That I will show now. Listen to- Okay, you see it is updated. Just try to refresh it. See here, the last one. That is what we changed. It is a static one. Okay, so I said in the project we have to make it as all the IPs are static, because in the OS level we need to configure the IPs. Whatever we define in the portal level, it will not reflect in OS level. We have to configure the, I mean, we have to add those IPs in OS level also. That I will show now. You see, in the portal level, three IPs are there, but the IP config, you can see the IPs are IP showing as only one. The primary IP 0.0.4 only showing. It is not showing the additional IP. Okay. So we have to add those additional IPs in OS level also. Same thing for Linux machine. This is Windows machine. Same concept for Linux machine also. Whenever you do multiple IPs add in the portal, you have to update in OS level also. Okay, so before that I'm just going to change these all IPs as static one. Give static. The primary IP I can make it as static, the same IP only, because that is the primary and that will never change. So I am just keeping the same IP. 004 is a static one. Is this IP is completely occupied this machine, so I can able to set as static. In case this 04 IP is occupied by somebody else, you cannot add it as static. Let this happen. So any doubt guys till now? So same way I'm going to change the other IP also. Static, same 5 IP, just adding it. So now you can see all three IPs are changed as static. Okay, fine. One more thing before adding the IP, I need to explain it. In the in the VNet creations, I have explained about CADR range. Okay, so um, if you define /24, then it will assign to 56 IPs. Okay, makes sense. This statement is true. In this, the IP address start from 0 to 255. This statement also true. Okay, by default, 5 IP address will be reserved reserved by Azure. Okay, in this 256 you can utilize only 251 IP address. You cannot use other 5 IP address that is used by Microsoft for below purpose. The very first address 0.0.0.1, that is for networking purpose, and 0.0.0.2 and 3. These two IPs used for DNS purpose. Okay, 2, 3 for DNS purpose, 2 and 3, and one more is there. What is that? Okay, this first one is for networking purpose, which is mainly required for gateway purpose, and so yeah, one is for networking, sorry, one is for gateway, and 2 3 for DNS. 0.0.0.0, the very initial address, this is for networking purpose, sorry, networking broadcast purpose. Yeah, the one is for networking gateway and 0 for networking broadcast purpose. The last one is 0.0.0 how many IPs are there now? Yeah, last IP is 0.0.0.255, the last IP. This is for multi broadcasting purpose. Okay, try to understand. Just for 5 IPs will be reserved in that 0.0.0.0.0 networking purpose. One is gateway, 2 3 for DNS, and last IP 255 for multi broadcasting purpose. We cannot use this 5 IP address. So that is why you come to this NIC card and you see this subnet 10.0.0.0/54, sorry 24. So 24 means 256 IPs totally. In that 5 IPs will be reserved, and how much is remaining you can see now. 459, which is starting from 4 only. The first machine is not starting from 0 or 1 and 2, because I said 0, 1, 2, 3 are reserved by Azure, and the next IP will be 4. So that is why the the IP start from 10.0.4 up to 255, so 254 you can configure. That is the last IP. Okay, just I will create one more IP for understand. IP config static 10.0.0.255. You see, when I give 255, it is throwing the error falls within the reserved IP. This is what I explained. 250 for reserved IP, we cannot use it. So 254 you can use it. Understood? So the first IP would assign from 4, and the last IP 254. This is the same mechanism for all the networks and subnet. Each subnet having reservation. Okay, so now what I'll do, I'll just remove some additional IPs, because it is very hard to add in OS level, and we are running out of time also. So only I will add two secondary IPs. Sorry, one secondary IP. Let me delete it. Okay, so the primary IP is 10.0.0.4, secondary is 5. I am going to add in the OS level. Okay, so this is also very important, and this is the frequent task in project, adding additional IPs in the machine. As a Windows administrator, we have to add in portal level as well as OS level. Okay, so before adding that, some information we need to capture. Just type in command line config. It is giving IP address, subnet mask, default gateway. We need still some more information, so give IP config space slash all. Okay, we need some more informations. Let me just make a notepad. What is subnet mask, submask? Why it is required? I'll tell you. Okay, this is my subnet mask. What is my default gateway? This is my default gateway. What is my DNS? Actually, we did not define DNS manually. Okay, by default it is there because we are using public IP for RDP, so that's why public DNS is associated. DNS server is associated, but this is fine. Let it be. So now in this VM, search settings, go to settings, extend it, go to network and internet. Just go here on the right side, so on the left side you can see Ethernet. Go here, you see the network is connected. One is public, another one is private. So let it be. You can see here option is right side change adapter option. So go here, just expand it. This is the NIC card. Our NIC card is connected to this VM. You see there is a cable connected to the VM. In the portal also you see VM134. This NIC card is connected to our VM. Okay, so just double click on the NIC card. You can see the details. You see IP4 is internet is connected because we are using public IP for taking RDP. So it is public facing IP. So go to properties, and here in the Ethernet properties you can see Internet Protocol version 4 settings. Just double click on that. Here actually you are going to add our primary IP as well as secondary IP. The first one you see obtain the IP address automatically, which means dynamically the IPs are assigned, not static. So I'm just going to make it as static. Use the second option. Here we need to assign the IP, primary IP, secondary IP, additional whatever. So the first IP is 10.0.0.4. That is my primary IP that you can see in the IP configuration also. See the IP configuration and sorry, where it is now. Subnet mask. What is our subnet mask? 255, 255, 255, 0. So that we have to define 255, 255, 0. And gateway, I said right, the first gateway is the IP address 1 will be for gateway purpose. And DNS, we are using public faced VM, so the DNS is not assigned manually, and the default one is assigned by Microsoft over the network. So as of now, you can ignore it, but In the project, you must be having this DNS server something 0.0.0.2 and alternate DNS for 0.0.0.3. Okay, this would be there in project, but as of now I'm not giving. Okay, but this is the IPS 2 3 will be for DNS purpose. Okay, so IP is added. Just click OK and click OK. Still, we did not assign additional IP. Only we added the private IP, sorry, primary IP into static in the OS level. Okay, just clear this point. Okay, so let it wait to complete. The remote will be disconnected because we are making the changes from dynamic to static. So it will take few minutes and it will come back. The RDP will come back. Okay. You see the RTP has come back. Same activity will happen. Even you do in project, same remote will be disconnected for few seconds and it will be connected. Okay. And you see when I make the changes, the internet also gone. The outbound internet also gone. Now go to properties. Okay. Now what you do? Go back to your CMD and again check your IP config. You see IP config 004 is the primary one. Okay. Now I will add the another IP. Go to properties, go to IPv4 settings, and here click on advanced option. Okay. You see here IP settings. IP settings 04. Only one IP is added. I said multiple IPs, right? So just click and add. Give your IP address, additional IP address 10.0.0.5. That is our IP address in the portal, additional IP. Okay. So give that. And again, what is the subnet for that? The whatever it has for the primary, it would be the same for additional also. So just click on add IP and gateway would be same for all the IPs, all the secondary IPs. So just giving click OK. You see in the DNS it won't be there because we did not define DNS as we are using public faced IP. So just click OK and click OK. OK. Close this window. Now type IP config. See the logic now. You can see there are two IP address that is connected to this VM. The VM1, sorry, IP address 4 is connected, IPv4 address 5 is connected, and the gateway is same. Subnet mask is this one. Got this point? This is how we need to add additional IP in OS level. This is also very important one project. You would be doing this task frequently. So any doubt in this topic? Sorry guys, I'm taking little more time because there are so many topics needs to be covered. Still actually these are all the topics I thought to cover today itself, but we couldn't. Fine. Two more topics just left out. I will this won't take much time. Okay, so we'll discuss this one and we'll close call for today. Is it fine? Hello. Yeah. This will not take more than 2 minutes. It's very simple only. Okay. So just complete it. This one. I will. Hello. Hello. Okay. Fine. Others, can you give a confirmation? If you all wish, then I will do, or else I will close it. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. So next topic is move the VM from one subnet to another subnet. Again, I'm going back to the subnet. So the A subnet, my requirement comes the project client is asking to move the subnet for the VM from A subnet to B subnet. Is it possible in the Azure? Yes, this can be possible. We can move the VM to one subnet to other subnet. Okay, for that, uh, yeah, we can move it. Just go to the VM, go to networking, go to the same NIC interface because the subnet associated in NIC card only. Okay, go to the subnet. Sorry, go to the network interface and here IP configurations and see the logic here subnet. This is the actual subnet that is connected to the VM. I mean, the network is NIC card is connected to subnet, and the VM is present on this subnet. I need to move the VM from one subnet default to some other subnet. Okay, so before you do this one, okay, before you do this one, make sure the IP address you have to change to dynamic. Why? Because as I said, in the OS level also, I have already declared the IPs, defined the IPs. So now I'll just quickly go to the virtual network where the subnet is present. I will add one more subnet. I will create new subnet. Okay, this is our this one. Sorry. So go to subnets, default subnet. Okay, I'm going to create a new subnet, subnet B, and it is taking a default IP ranges. Okay, same /24 ranges. Okay, this is also fine for me. I don't have any objection, so I'll just click on submit. So subnet is added, new subnet is created. So go to the VM network interface, just to do refresh, so that in the drop down it will be displayed. So go to IP configurations, go to your subnet and see in the drop down subnet B, which we created. So when you choose the subnet B, it is showing us the virtual machine associated with the network interface will be restarted to utilize the new subnet. Okay, that is also fine. I just click on apply. What it will do, it will refresh this network card, and we are getting a error is failed to update network interface private static IP address. Uh, okay, so that is what I just said. Before we upgrade it, the static IPs are there. We need to make it as dynamic. Okay, if it is static means it will not be released from the NIC card. Okay, so quickly I will just go and make it as dynamic. Sorry guys for extending timing. Okay, just bear with me for 2-3 minutes. Okay. Um, okay. So the first IP came as dynamic. So I will just remove the second IP. I don't want. Just quickly delete it. So the best practice when you move the VM from one subnet to another subnet, make sure you have to power off the VM and then change the subnet, and make sure you have to make this IP's addresses dynamic. Static means it will not consider. Okay, so you see the changes are done. I'm just moving to subnet B. Click on apply. So let's see the status. And after move this VM to subnet B, new IP will be assigned from the new subnet. Okay, that is also we see now. Let it complete. And guys, whatever we discussed is all very important concept and most frequent task that you do in project, and keep practice, do in different ways whatever the way we discussed, try in all the ways. Okay, it's very important one. This is how the interviewer also will ask the question whatever we discussed, right? How to change network interface, how to add primary IPs, how to add the primary, sorry, how to add secondary IPs in OS level, how to change the IP, how to change it from dynamic to static, static to dynamic, and moving the VM from one subnet to another subnet. If you refer other Google course for Azure 104, you will not at all find these topics. This is all my own practiced topics, which is completely based on worked topics. Let's keep updating. So let's wait for a moment. So fine. Any other doubts, guys? Till now. So make your doubts as a point. So when you come tomorrow, and we'll discuss the points, and we will be covering the tomorrow firewall. Firewall is left out here. It's a big topic, so that's why I just kept it as pending. So this is also we have done now. The last one we discuss it tomorrow. No worries, it's already too late. Accelerated that we discuss tomorrow. Okay, these are the topics that left out for tomorrow. We'll try to complete it. So till now, any doubt? Is it clear? Points are clear, or anything I confused, or it's like it's taking a time? Okay, fine. Thank you. And you see, the remote desktop is disconnected. So, which means the changes are being happen in the backend. So that is why my RDP is disconnected and the VM is rebooting. So that is why I said the best practice power off the machine before do this kind of task and do it carefully. You see, still it is taking. I guess it will update in few minutes. So others, anybody have a doubts? Clear, all clear. Let it complete. There is a one website. So I we discussed about CADR range, right? If you are still not clear, or you want to find out some CADR range of the IP address, just Google it. IP CIDR range. Okay, you can have some multiple websites where they have defined IP address details and all. So just click on IP address guide. So here the box will open here, and you can search the IP ranges and find it out the details. So you see 10.0.0.0/24 IP gave. Just click on calculate, and it will give the detailed of information. You see the CADR range, network mask. This is wildcard bit you can ignore. First IP 00, decimal first IP in decimal, last IP is 22225, last IP in decimal, total 256 IP. If we give in slash 24 IP ranges, if you give slash 23, you will get, oh, what happened, Scott? If you give slash 23, 512 IPs and the details will come. Okay. Shit, still it is taking time. Sorry guys for delay. So meantime, I'll just go to the VM and see the status of the link. Uh, okay, you see it is changed to subnet B. Okay, there it is still loading fine, but in the other tab you see the IP address is changed to subnet B, that is 10.0.2.0 slash 254. The IP first IP is assigned 4 10.0.2.4. I said right, the first IP would be 4 only, so the dynamic IP is assigned. Later we can make it a static. Likewise, we can add primary, sorry, secondary IPs as well. Okay, so that's all guys for today topic.